In this sequence, we're going to deal with caster and wheel repairs. Whether you're upgrading, replacing something, you've prepped the grill, the roll dome's off, fuel's disconnected, you watched the other video on how to bring it this far. Now, in order for me to get into the repairs on casters and wheels or anything on the bottom of the grill, I'm going to have to invert it. I've recruited some help, so we're going to flip this upside down, okay? Rotate it. Now let's deal with replacing the large wheels. Crown Verity grills, these large 14-inch wheels from time to time do need to be replaced. Some of the tools required for this job, I've got a standard set of locking pliers, otherwise known as vice grip, flat nose pliers or linesman type pliers, a slot screwdriver, and a hammer. Okay. Before we get started at pulling the pin out, what I want to do is lock the axle with a set of locking pliers, standard vice grip style, on the axle, and lock it down so that it doesn't turn. And I'll hold this with one hand so I have control over the rotation of that axle. And I'll bring my flat nose pliers into play here and start straightening out the tails, the ears on the cotter pin so that we can pull it out. It will be deformed, that's normal. If you can get it straight, just pull it out. If it sticks on you, which this one's doing, I'll bring a slot screwdriver into there, put it right in the eye of the cotter pin, and start tapping with a hammer. Take the washer off, the wheel pulls straight off the axle. Okay, brand new wheel, ready to go. What we want to do is make sure that we've got the same number of washers on the inside or the inbound side of the wheel as there were when we took it off. If there were two, replace it with two. If there was one, make sure it's there. Bring the new wheel in, slide it over the axle, introduce the washer. There should always be one washer on the outside, never less than one. Drop the new cotter pin into the hole, slide it straight out. Again, flat nose pliers, and I've got control of the axle for rotation, and just bend the ears out so it won't fall out. Installation's complete. Okay, let's deal with caster replacement. I'm going to be a little bit thorough here in explaining this whole area. There's a lot of things going on here, not just the caster. If you've ever experienced loose hardware, especially in this area, and can't figure out how to get at the backside of it, we're going to explain that. The key to unlocking this whole corner is the caster itself. And getting the caster off, for some, has been a bit of a mystery. We're going to clarify that for you. There's a large bolt right here in the center, and right in the center of this swivel raceway, which if you have a wrench like so, this is an offset wrench. If you don't, remove the wheel. Simply undo this nut, pull the bolt out, remove the wheel, and that'll allow you to get a standard socket down onto the head of this bolt. You don't necessarily need this fancy tool, but it's a little extra work, but it can be done. So let's go ahead and remove that. Okay, so here's your caster assembly with the bolt removed. We do use a thread locking compound on there to stop them from coming out. If you found that it's very stiff, a little bit of heat at times can help with removal. After the caster is removed, simply slide this stiffening plate out. Now we can access the back of these bolts so that we can deal with the caster mount. From time to time they do need to be replaced, or we need to bring the job at least this far to gain access to the fasteners that are behind here. So let's take this caster mount out completely. In order to do that, the only two bolts we have to take out are the outside two. Okay, let's take these bolts out. Now, I've got a slotted screwdriver here that I'm going to use to hold the bolt steady from outside, and using a standard 3/8 ratchet and an extension and a 1/2 inch socket, I can gain access to the nut from inside. I can now reach in from behind, break that nut loose, remove that one inbound bolt, come around to the other side, again securing the bolt, break my nut loose, All stainless steel hardware. Shouldn't have any corrosion problems, breakage, anything like that. Hardware is removed. Caster mount slides right out. Now you'll notice in the caster mount it has these two large square holes. Those are clearance holes for these two bolts. So again, they don't have to be removed in order to take this part out. Now would be the time to replace or tighten this hardware before we put a new caster mount in. So for good measure, let's just make sure everything's good and secure. We'll replace them as necessary because getting back in there later will be somewhat of a chore. From time to time, the caster mounts do need to be replaced. So we'll install a new part here. Simply slide it into place. New hardware. Again, from the outside, slip your lock washer on and the nut. Flat screwdriver, my ratchet. Now, we'll reinstall the stiffening plate the same way we took it off. Just slide it into place. It sits right there. Those two holes will line up. Here's our brand new caster. Put the bolt dead center. Reinstall this the same way we took it off earlier. Get it started. I'll use my fancy wrench, but again, you can remove the wheel by pulling that axle. You'll gain access vertically for a standard socket. Tighten this up. Nice and tight. Installation's complete.